Hi everybody, Steven here. In this video, I'm going to cover how do we set up a new workload domain inside VMware Cloud Foundation version 9. It'll actually be our first workload domain that we're going to spin up. So you want to stick around for that. See you in a bit. Thanks for sticking around. So in this video, we're going to cover how do we set up a new workload domain inside our VMware Cloud Foundation version 9 environment. So right now, I got my management domain up and running. I want to deploy my very first workload domain. There's a couple things we need to be aware of, right? So we'll cover it from commissioning our host to setting up our network pools, right up to deploying the workload domain. Anyways, before we begin, I always like to throw this out there. For those of you that subscribe to the channel, thanks very much. 10 thumbs up to you folks. I really appreciate it. I know I only did 2 there, but anyways, really appreciate it. For those of you that, again, did super thanks, again, 20 thumbs up to you folks. I really appreciate that as well. But again, if you want to support the channel, please click on that subscribe button. That's one way to support the channel. It's totally free. And also supporting the channel, you can share the videos. That also supports the channel, leaving comments and questions down below. Okay. I also got super thanks enabled. That's another way to help out with the channel anyways. But that's totally up to you. So why don't we get started? Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling here. So I'm logged into my VCF ops, right? If I go to inventory here, you'll see under, right now I'm looking at detailed view. So let me click on detailed view. You'll see my VCF instance called my VCF. I don't have much of imagination. There's my workload domain. That's all I have. Okay. Now I kind of wish, now I could do all of this, commission a host, create network pools, and create my workload domain all through the SDDC manager. I could do that. That was available back in version 5, right? VMware wants you to start getting used to doing it using the new tools, right? So right now, for me to commission hosts, I go into the management domains vCenter server. I kind of wish I could do it through VCF ops. I'm hoping that's an option instead of me having to jump back and forth between the interfaces. So anyways, let's go to here. I'm on my vCenter server in my management domain. I'm going to go to global inventory. I'm going to go to hosts. And under here, you can see assigned hosts. I've got 4 host in my management domain. Great. Under unassigned, there's nothing there. Okay. Right now, when I click on this tab, it's actually reaching out to the SDDC manager to pull in this information. When I click on network pool, again, it's doing the same. Now, I already have a network pool here. If I open this up, you'll see my management domain is using this because I called it management domain network pool. And you actually see there's the subnet for vSAN. There's the subnet for vMotion. Right now, I'm using 4 IPs. Remember I said my management domain has 4 hosts? Well, it's using 4 and there's 5 left over. So I actually put in a pool larger than I needed. Now, technically speaking, you'll probably create a new network pool for your workload domain. So I would click on this, say, okay, I'm using vMotion. That's always going to be selected. So you got to put in your vMotion VLAN ID, the MTU size, again, 9,000. Hopefully you got that set up. What subnet am I using for my vMotion? Whatever, I'll just pick this one. That's the network, what subnet mask, and what's the default gateway, let's say. I'm just putting some sample ones here. Then you would specify the range, right? In this example here, this is from a classroom that I ran recently. Let's say, I don't know, 10 to 172.20.8. Whatever, 20. And I put too many dots here. And then you would add in that range, okay? Now you have to ask yourself what kind of storage is my servers are going to be commissioned using. In my example, I'm going to be using vSAN, okay? So the vSAN is going to need its network information. If I wasn't using vSAN, I could use NFS or iSCSI or whatever the case may be. It would need its information as well. vSAN storage client, again, this comes back to like vSAN Max, so to speak. Anyways, we're just using vSAN. So this is what I would do probably in the real world. I would probably have separate vMotion network, separate vSAN networks for my workload domain. I don't. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to use my existing pool. Okay. Let's go to unassigned hosts. Let's go to commission hosts. And then there's a laundry list of stuff you need to read through. I'm not going to read through the main thing here, but look, all disk partitions must be, there should be no disk partitions on the disk, especially if you're using vSAN. Host name should have fully qualified domain name. The management IP is configured on the first net port. Again, they go through a laundry list of stuff for you to check. So you should read that through. So I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to go next. Now it's asking me for the fully qualified domain name. Am I going to add in a new host or import? Let's say add first. So my first host will be sa-esx-05.vclass.edu. Now it's asking what type of storage. So mine's going to be vSAN, okay? But is it going to be NFS? That's supported, or VMFS on fiber channel, or if you're using virtual volumes. Virtual volumes is being deprecated after, I hear, 9.1, so watch out for that. We'll see what happens in the future. Stuff could always change, you never know. But anyways, that's what I heard. That's what's been written. If you're using, let's say, if you've got fiber channel in your environment and you're going to be using that, your hosts that you're commissioning must have their fiber channel adapters installed. They must be connected to your fiber channel storage, and they must have that LUN, whatever LUNs have been assigned to those hosts, they must be formatted with the VMFS file system. Okay, all that has to be done before you even get to here. Same kind of thing with NFS. NFS, you'd have to have your hosts set up for NFS and the NFS share mounted already. Okay, on each host. I'm going to cheat. I'm using vSAN. Now I'm going to use vSAN HCI, and I'm not going to use Express Storage Architecture. I'm in a nested environment, and it complains when I select that. Am I using vSAN storage? That would be vSAN Max or a compute cluster type of thing. I'm just using regular vSAN HCI. Perhaps I'll do some videos on these down the road. Now the network pool, again, you would create your network pool, as I mentioned, but I'm going to use my existing one because that's okay for me. And there's nothing wrong with you doing that, by the way. Now, put in my a root user for the ESX host. Notice it's ESX, not ESXi. As of version 9, it's no longer called ESXi. It's called ESX. Anyways, I'll click Add, and we're done. Now, I could add in my other hosts. Suppose if I had to add in 20 hosts here. That could be a long time you type it in. You can import. I could click on this JSON file, and I could download it. Inside the JSON file, I could specify all my host names. You replace everything within the brackets here. Okay, the fully qualified domain name, the username, the storage type, passwords, the network pool, and the storage protocol. Okay, and you would just have entries for your 20 servers here. Then you can import it. It would be a lot faster. I'm only doing 3, so I'm not gonna worry about that. Let me pick that one again. Let's get rid of the I. Let's make this 6, and this is edu. And I'm doing vSAN. I'm not doing Express. There's my network pool. There's my user root, and I'll add that. Come on, did I type in that password right? I guess I did. And then the last one will be, let's pick that. We'll change it to 7. So I'm doing host 5, 6, and 7. No Express Storage Architecture root, and then the password. Add. So now I got my now I got my 3 servers here. Okay. Now notice over here I got to confirm the thumbprints. Okay. So here's the thumbprints that's found on the servers. You want to confirm that. You can go into the direct console user interface on the servers. A bunch of ways to do it. That's probably the easiest way. But you want to make sure, yeah, that is this server. There's no bad actor trying to intimidate or imitate that, right? I know it is. I'm going to say confirm fingerprints. And then I'm going to say validate all. And it's going to go out and validate all these servers, okay? It's going to check the vSAN hardware compatibility list. Again, if I had selected Express Storage Architecture, it fails on my nested hosts here. I know there's probably ways around it, but I'm too lazy. This is just a demo. I'll be tearing it apart. So there we go. So it's done, right? I'm going to click Next. And then at this point, I'm going to say Commission Hosts. Now, what it's doing now, it's going to add these hosts into vSphere. Let's open up the task part here, and let's just give it a few seconds. You actually see it, commissioning hosts. So this is going out to the SDDC manager and commission host. This could take a few minutes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my recording, and we'll come back when it's done, all right? Hey, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Without subscribers, there's no content developers, and it's totally free. Hit that subscribe button. You're done. Okay? We'll see you back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. That took about 3 minutes or so for it to commission. So you see unassigned host. You see over here, I got my 5 hosts, right? Great. So I'm done. I create my network pool within the vCenter and the management domain. I then commission my host. I'm ready to rock and roll. So this is the part that so now I got to exit from here and go into VCF operations, right? From there, you have to go into inventory, and you got to be in the, let me go back to, you got to be in the detailed view. This is the basic view. You got to click on detailed view, click your VCF instance, and at that point you get add workload domain. Okay, so you got to watch for that. It's kind of sort of hidden, right? So add workload domain. When I click on that, it's going to say create a new one or import. I'll talk about importing vCenter. I'll probably do a separate video on that. That could be like for upgrading to VCF. That would be for like converging to VCF. Or sorry, let me back up. That would be for importing into an existing vSphere environment into a workload domain. I'll do a video on that sometime down the road. Let's create new. So we're creating a new workload domain, right? So again, it comes up here. It tells you make sure your lifecycle manager cluster is all set up. A host must be commissioned with the principal storage. So I commissioned mine with vSAN, Express Storage Architecture. If I'm trying to create a workload domain that's using vSAN, I commissioned it using original storage architecture. If I tried to create a workload domain using vSAN Express, it would come up with an error, right? If you're using vVols, you have to have your VASA provider installed. If you're using vSAN, you must have disk with no partitions on it. And then they talk about network requirements here for pool and all that stuff. So you folks can read that on your own. I'm going to hit proceed. Now, again, here's all the screens that we're going to go through here, right? So what's the name of the workload domain? I'm going to call mine WLD-01. I don't have much of imagination. Workload domain 01. Enable vSphere Supervisor. Now, notice over here, step 9 talks about vSphere Supervisor. I'm going to remove that. Watch what happens to step 9. It's gone. It's now review, right? So, whoop, see? We used to have 10 steps. Now we only have 9. This basically enables the supervisor cluster. This is for like Kubernetes and stuff. Perhaps I'm going to do a video on that down the road, but that could also be done after the fact. I'm going to leave this alone. Now, the single sign-on domain. We do no longer support enhanced link mode, okay? So you're going to give it a single sign-on domain here, and I'll call mine vSphere.local. And auto-generate passwords to newly installed appliances. You could do this, and at the end, you could actually download the password list if you want to. Or you can just type them in, right? So I'm going to type them in. And again, I don't care if you see the password. This is going to get blown away after this is done. All right, come on. So I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to copy. If you're going to do what I'm doing here, you better make sure you type that password right? I'm going to go next. Now it's asking me my vCenter server. What's the fully qualified domain name? Remember, we're creating a workload domain. It's going to spin up a new vCenter server, okay? And that vCenter server is going to run. It's going to be a VM running in my management domain. So you got to have enough resources there. So mine's going to be Site A vCenter server appliance 01b.vclass.edu. And I like this here, show IP configuration. When I click on that, it's actually telling me, yeah, you got your DNS all set up, which I really like. Then I'll put in my root password. Okay, and then I'll go next. What's the name of the cluster I'm going to call there? Maybe I'll call it, workload domain -01 cluster 01, whatever. Okay. Actually, let's get rid of the dashes on that one. Workload domain 01-CL01 cluster 01. Great. What image? Remember I said you had to be using Lifecycle Manager? So where to get this from? It got it from the management domain. So when I spun up my management domain, it looked and said, hey, you got these ESX9 hosts with this build. I'm going to make an image and use that. So great. If I have multiple images, maybe down the road when we get newer versions and stuff, you can pick from that. But yeah, I'm going to pick that one. That's good. NSX Manager. Do I want to do a standard deployment or a high availability deployment? High availability is going to deploy 3 of them. Standard is going to deploy 1. In production, I highly recommend you deploy 3. Sorry. Okay. And I talk about that in my NSX classes. Okay. So you can see my videos on that. What's the size of the appliance? Medium, large, or extra large? There's no small. Small is for proof of concept. So this is going to depend on how many hosts you're going to have running in this workload domain. Now, this is my first workload domain I'm setting up. It cannot share the NSX Manager of the management domain. It has to have its own. Now, if I spin up a second workload domain, I could opt for it to share this first workload domain's NSX manager. So you got to ask yourself, how many ESXi hosts or transport nodes is this NSX manager going to be managing? And that kind of dictates the size of this. So medium is basically up to 128 hosts. Large is anything more than that type of thing. So I'm going to go with medium. What's the fully qualified domain name of this appliance? Remember, if I said high availability, I'm going to enter 3 appliance names. So my first one's called Site A NSX Manager -01B, and then its IP address. No, I just clicked there, and it actually went and checked for the address. So that's good. I got forward reverse lookups going. Now, what's the name of the virtual IP? So this is a clustered virtual IP. I talk about it in my NSX classes or my videos. You can watch this. So this is going to be called Site A NSX Manager -b.vclass.edu. Let me just click there, and then boom, it found. So that means my DNS is set up. Great. What password for the admin and auditor? I'm going to type in or paste in those ones I had before. And then it's asking me, how do I want to set up my VPCs? Now, I did a video just recently on VPCs. This is asking me, how do I want to set up my transit gateways? Do I want to set up central connectivity or distributed? When I say distributed, it's going to ask me for VLAN and all this other stuff. You don't have to worry about configuring this right now. You go, what the heck is this? Just pick centralized, and it says it can be configured later. Okay, watch my video on VPCs with VCF 9. Okay, so I'm just going to pick centralized, and it basically says do it later, deal with it later. If you're not sure, just pick that. I'm going to go next. Now it's asking me my storage. I'm going to pick vSAN, and then notice here I can say, okay, it's going to be. I'm going to deselect Express Storage Architecture because that's what my hosts are using, the original, or if it's NFS or Fiber Channel. I talked about that. So you got to pick the appropriate storage here. If I picked this right now, let's go next, and then it'll be vSAN HCI, right, and not vSAN storage cluster or vSAN Max. If I go next, I'm going to get a problem here. This is no suitable hosts found, okay? There's no unavailable hosts. Let's back up. I'm going to go not Express Storage Architecture. I'll go next. Notice it's a little different here. It's asking me what's your default failure to tolerate. This is original storage architecture. I'm going to leave the failure to tolerate at 1. Space efficiency. Do I want to enable dedupe and compression? This is something you want to think about, especially with the original storage architecture in vSAN. If you go, I'm not going to worry about it right now, but I'll do it later. It has to basically reformat all the drives. That could be a bit of a problem. So if you're even thinking about doing this later, do it now. Okay, I don't care. I'm blowing away my environment after this. I'm going to go next. Notice here it says it requires 3 hosts. I should have probably mentioned this. For the workload domains, if you're doing vSAN, you need at least 3 hosts. For Fiber Channel and NFS, you could get away with 2. But anyways, let's go next. Now you see over here it found my uncommissioned host. I'm going to pick all of them. And we let it churn away there. Notice I got like 4 drives here. It's got 4 network cards. You can kind of see that in the column. Great. I'm going to go next. This is the fun part. This is asking you, how do you want to set up your distributed switch? The default is creates 1 distributed switch, and it says I'm going to put your management traffic, vMotion, vSAN, and NSX traffic across that 1 distributed switch with your 4 NICs or 2 NICs or whatever you have. Or you could pick this one, say storage separation. I want to have my vSAN on a separate distributed switch with separate NICs, and everything else goes on that first distributed switch, even NSX. Or this one here, I want everything on the first distributed switch, including vSAN, but NSX will be on its own with its tap. So you can pick and choose these. Obviously, if you only got 2 NICs, you're only going to get this choice here, default. You won't get this here. You can also go create custom. I like this as well. If I go to view details, this is here. Hide details. Okay, no, it's not there. Create custom switch. I thought there was, unless I'm missing something in the graphics here. Let's pick, now I can go custom. Let's create custom here. And I could go in custom and I could create my own distributed switch, give it a name, the MTU sizes, and then specify the network traffic if I want to. I didn't specify all these, right? So you can do that. Let's go back to cancel switch configuration. I could say, well, I want to do custom, but I kind of like the NSX traffic separation. I'll copy that, then I'll modify it from there. Okay. Now, I only got 4 NICs. It's not letting me create another distributed switch. If I had 6, it would let me do that. So you can go in and modify that. I'm going to let me actually show you something. Let me change my selection. Let's go back to NSX traffic. So I'm going to pick that. I'm going to put my NSX on a separate switch. That's just me. Okay. Now notice over here it says, hey, we need a transport VLAN. So I'm going to click on edit. So it's asking me for a VLAN number. Why? Well, remember we had our network pool for vSAN and for management, and for vSAN and vMotion, and I provided my VLANs there. Why is it asking me about this? Well, it didn't ask me about NSX, so it needs to set up the network for the NSX tunnel endpoints, the taps. If you don't know what taps are, you need to watch my NSX videos. So in here, again, it's showing me this is the name of the transport zone it's going to create. Then it's saying this is the name of the VLAN, or the VLAN it's going to use for the taps. And notice tap IP assignment, it's only DHCP. I don't want that. I want to go manual or whatever, right? I want to do from a network pool. It's not letting me do that. This is kind of the little quirk that I noticed. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to go back to switch configuration. I'm going to change my selection. I'm going to go into create a custom. I'm going to copy from NSX. And then at this point, it's telling me I got to set up the VLAN. Now I'll go edit there. I'll scroll down. I'll put in my VLAN. I'm going to put in VLAN 12 here. And then TEP assignment, still DHCP. So what's going on? Down here, there's an edit button. I'll click on that. Now it lets me actually go in and create a pool. So, let me go back, put my VLAN in. I'm going to say a static pool. I'm going to create a pool. I'll call my pool workload domain 02 VTAP pool, whatever description you want. What's the CIDR for the pool? Mine's 172.20.12 network. What IP range? I'll do 172.20.12.11 to whatever, 100. Depends on the number of hosts you're going to have. We want to plan for growth. And then my gateway for that tap. Okay, so that's kind of and then you can also you specify your uplinks here, number of uplinks. Right now it's a load balance based on source, that type of stuff. Okay, and I talk about that in our network profiles and NSX, right? I'm going to save this configuration, and I'm pretty much at the end here right now, right? Come on, we'll just save that, and there we go. And okay, settings are applied. Okay, great. Save configuration. I got to acknowledge this, and then at this point, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm going to click on next. So a few extra steps there. Again, if you want to get a little bit more fancy, right? It gives me the review here. I advise that you read through this, okay? And then you hit finish. Now at this point, it's going to do a validation. So it's going to validate the environment. Give it a few seconds. It should kick in. It's validated environment. Actually, sorry, it should have a validated environment, but now it's actually deploying. So if I click on View SDDC Manager Task, I'm still inside VCF operations here, right? So it's actually a fetching subtask. Give it a few seconds here, folks. Let me just refresh this. Might take almost a minute or so, and we'll just see what's kind of going on here. And then you can view the task like you would normally, let's say, with an SDDC Manager. I could actually go into the SDDC Manager right now and view the task if I want to. So let me hit, there we go, creating workload domain. So I click on that. There at this point, you see all the different tasks that are already run. These are workflows. I can click on this here. So there's a whole whack load of pending tasks. So what's this doing? It's gonna basically deploy vCenter server. It's gonna set up my 3 hosts as like vSAN cluster, get all that stuff up. Then it's going to basically deploy NSX Manager. It's got to prepare the host. It's a fair amount of stuff that's actually doing here, right? Generally speaking, this is going to depend on how fast your environment is. Normally mine takes anywhere from 1.5 hours to 2 hours. I suggest that you don't sit here and watch this screen, right? So that's basically it. We're just going to let this run. I'm going to come back maybe in a few hours or tomorrow morning and check it out, okay? And at that point, our workload domain should be deployed. So I'm going to pause, or I'm going to stop the recording right now. We'll come back when it's all done. And again, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll see us back when this is all done. Okay, so we are back. To be honest with you, it's the next day. I just let it run overnight. It took just a couple hours, right? So you can see creating workload domain. It was successful, right? It's perfect. So what else we got to do right now with it? What I would do at this point, if you have identity broker set up, which you may have, you'll want to set that up. Configure the components for your workload domains there. So let's go into identity and access. I've got a video covering the identity broker. I've got two videos, the embedded and the regular one. So if I go into identity access, VCF instances, my VCF, you actually see my identity source is the identity broker. I'm using the embedded. If you're not sure what that is, watch my videos. If I go to component configuration, you'll see that you'll see there's two components here not configured. My vCenter server for the workload domain, that's not configured. My NSX manager for the workload domain, that's not configured. So if you want to be able to use the same identity broker across workload domains, you would have to configure that. So I would say, okay, let me select it, and then say configure component. And it's basically going to say, okay, you know what, go ahead, configure the component for the identity broker. That'll take a few minutes. Once you've done that, I'm not going to demo this. I showed it in my identity broker video. Once you've done that, you want to go into each of those components, into vCenter, into NSX, and assign the appropriate permissions to your, let's say your AD user, let's say. And I demoed all that in that identity broker video. The other thing, I'll probably just let that spin for a bit. It'll probably finish shortly. Oh yeah, I think it just finished. Yeah, so there we go. It's all done. Great. The other thing you would do is set up licensing. So you would go over here to licensing, and I can't really, sorry, that's lifecycle. License management, you go to licensing, you would sign your licenses. I got no licenses, so I can't show you that. I don't have any yet, so we'll see what happens in the future. So that's another thing too, you would have to license out your appropriate workload domain, because right now it would have a 90-day eval. That's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave your comments and questions down below. If you got any suggestions on stuff that you want to see me cover, please, leave it in the comments down below. I'll see what I can do. I got more videos coming up, and I got more classes I'm actually teaching very soon. So we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.